pretty much everybody else here and throughout the country believes that convicted sex offenders don't deserve special treatment or privileges in prison. And yet Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator, received perk after perk in prison. In July, she had a 2-day interview with your deputy and President Trump's former defense attorney, Todd Blanche. Just days after that, Maxwell was transferred from a federal correctional institution in Florida to a minimum security camp in Texas, which she, as a sex offender, would normally be ineligible for. At this new facility, as the ranking member talked about, and by the way, it's nicknamed Club Fed, we've heard reports that she's been afforded special privileges, puppy time, private workouts, personal mail, secretarial services. Attorney General Bondi, does a convicted sex offender like Ghislaine Maxwell deserve special treatment and privileges in prison? Yes or no?
Let me be crystal clear on this. No. And
Thank you.
let me keep going. No, let me keep going.
Perfect. Well, I
did not know she was being transferred.
I asked you yes or no.
She was not transferred to a lower
Mr. Chairman, please stop the clock and remind the witness of the rules. One rule she needs to understand
and I'm glad that we're agreeing. So when we're agreeing, we can move on to some other things. But I want you to know that every time she does get these perks, and it's been publicly reported, that the folks she's abused, the survivors who are sitting here, they see themselves as being denied justice. They feel re-traumatized. And I'm glad that we agree on that. But she should not be in that prison. And she needs to be moved back to a maximum security prison as soon as possible. But what she has told another committee here is that she won't cooperate with them unless she gets clemency from Donald Trump. It's just crazy to consider that she can be wielding this kind of influence within the administration. But that begs the question, who ordered her to be transferred to the minimum security prison that she was ineligible for? Who signed off on the special privileges? Was it Mr. Blanche? Was it one of your other subordinates? So please, can you tell us who sent her there, since you don't agree she should be there?
I said I do not agree she should receive special treatment. She was transferred, I learned after the fact, to the same level facility, and that is a question for the Bureau of Prisons. I was not involved in that at all. The same level facility, I don't know why, but you know, instead of talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, who hopefully will die in prison, you should be talking about Irina Zarutska.
I have a couple
who
of
died
other
on a subway.
Right, and I absolutely...
You don't talk about that.
I have been talking about it and actually helping with these issues. But we're going to move back to you.
I bet we are.
Yes, of course, because you're here to testify. That's what the whole point of this endeavor is. So of course we're moving back to you. It is all about you. So as we've heard, she took the fifth in response to every single question in that committee hearing. And her lawyer dangled the offer of clemency. Should Donald Trump pardon or commute her sentence? Should she be released from prison, yes or no? You said you hope she dies there, so I'm hoping the answer is no.
I already answered that question.
Good. I'm very glad. I really like this bipartisan agreement about what should happen with you.
But you don't want to talk about Irina Zarutska. You don't want to talk about
I talk about
murdered
her all
by
the
a
time,
violent crime
but
offender
I am not
in
here
your
to
jurisdiction.
testify before Congress. You are. That is your job today.
You're
That's what you're getting paid for.
obsessed with attack.
I want you to know that your own DOJ employee, he's recently been demoted and had some other problems, advises on pardons. Do you think he will be advising Mr. Trump on any kind of clemency or pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell?
I'm not going to speculate, and you couldn't even identify properly. That's why you don't want to talk about Irina Zarutska. You couldn't properly identify her relative.
I absolutely
it's embarrassing.
have been, and her family, by the way, appreciates all of the condolences, all of the help, everything that our law enforcement in North Carolina has been doing to help her family. Her family feels well treated. Thank you, and I yield back.
The gentlelady yields back. Gentleman from California is recognized.
I'd ask unanimous consent to enter into the record an article by former Attorney General William P. Barr entitled, "Why Pam Bondi Didn't Publish All the Epstein Files in 30 Days." The answer is simple. It was not possible, from the Wall Street Journal.
Well said. Without objection, the gentlelady from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry. May I respond 20 seconds to something that Congresswoman Ross said?
Go right ahead.
Thank you. She also opposed a sex offender registry as head of North Carolina ACLU. Thank you.
All right, let's just get straight into this deep dive today because, wow, we have a seriously tense confrontation from Capitol Hill to look at.
Yeah, it is incredibly dense.
Right, so we're looking at a C-STAN transcript. It's titled Attorney General Pam Bondi on Ghislaine Maxwell prison transfer. And our mission for you today is to really unpack this clash. It involves, high-level political maneuvering, allegations of special treatment, and some very specific denials from the AG.
Exactly. And our goal isn't just to recap a shouting match. We want to parse the actual strategy here. You have the committee basically alleging corruption in the Bureau of Prisons and the Attorney General deploying this multi-layered defense to distance herself from it.
So let's get right to the anomaly. We all know the term club fed.
We do, but the details in this transcript go way beyond just a nicer facility.
I mean, puppy time.
Yeah, puppy time, private workouts, personal mail, and secretarial services.
Which is wild. The committee really grilled Bondi on this because Maxwell was moved from a federal institution in Florida to a minimum security camp in Texas.
Right, and for anyone who knows the history, the red flag here is technical. Sex offenders are typically totally ineligible for minimum security camps. It breaks standard protocol.
Which makes the timeline of this so explosive.
Absolutely, because this transfer occurred just days after Maxwell had a 2-day interview with Todd Blanche.
And let's remind you who Todd Blanche is. He's not just Bondi's deputy. He's heavily tied to the president's personal legal team.
So the implication the committee is making is that this wasn't some clerical error. It looks like a direct line from the White House to the prison warden.
A back channel, basically.
Right. So Bondi is put in a really difficult position. She can't defend the perks because they are, frankly, indefensible. Instead, she pivots to a defense of total ignorance. She told the committee she learned about the transfer after the fact.
Which is a convenient stance, isn't it? It essentially argues that the Bureau of Prisons is just operating completely without the Attorney General's oversight.
But she didn't just deny involvement. She went on the offensive. To cut through the accusation that she was protecting Maxwell, Bondi explicitly stated on the record that she hopes Maxwell will die in prison.
That is a brutal line.
It is, but strategically necessary to separate herself from that club-fed narrative.
She also brought in some heavy artillery to defend the delays in releasing the Epstein files. She actually entered a Wall Street Journal article by former AG William Barr into the record.
A calculated move. By citing Barr, she frames the delay as a systemic administrative reality, something even Barr dealt with. He explained that publishing the files within 30 days simply wasn't administratively possible. She's basically using the bureaucracy as a shield rather than admitting to a conspiracy to hide evidence.
Speaking of strategy, the most intense moment was arguably her pivot to Irina Zarita.
Oh, yes. When pressed on Maxwell, Bondi suddenly started talking about a victim of a violent subway crime instead.
It felt like more than just changing the subject.
It was a moral counterattack. Bondi was attempting to shame the committee. By juxtaposing Maxwell against Zurka, a victim of street violence, she accused the committee of having misplaced priorities. She's essentially asking them why they are obsessed with this one high-profile prisoner when regular people are suffering.
It's a classic deflection, but effective. However, if we connect Bondi wishing for Maxwell to die in prison back to the broader situation, it really clarifies the leverage play here. Maxwell is reportedly refusing to cooperate with committees.
Exactly. If the AG is publicly wishing for your death and incarceration, your options shrink fast. Maxwell is likely using her silence as leverage, holding out for executive clemency.
Right. She has no incentive to talk if she thinks her only ticket out is a pardon from Donald Trump.
And so we end up in this standoff. The AG says she didn't move her and doesn't control the files.
And the committee says the timing is just too perfect to be an accident.
While Maxwell sits in Texas with her secretarial services, and Bondi just repeatedly deferred to the Bureau of Prisons.
Which brings us to the real systemic issue to leave you with today. If the Attorney General of the United States claims to be completely unaware of the transfer of one of the country's most notorious prisoners, a transfer that violates safety protocols, what does that actually say about the autonomy of the Bureau of Prisons?
Right.
If the AG isn't running the show inside that incredibly opaque system, who exactly is? Something for you to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.